What is going on, all of you game enthusiasts, professional and casual out there in the world? I am MegaAmpster. Thank you for clicking on this quick little video. If you're new here, hey, welcome to the channel. Good to see you here. Returning viewers, always great to see you here. Thank you for the continued support over time. Just want to give a mild warning ahead of time. There will be some minor spoilers for certain games that I discuss. So if there's a game that comes up that I talk about that you don't want to be spoiled on, probably tune out. Just a little bit of a warning in case you want to, but I'll try to be as light on spoilers as possible. Just a little bit of a warning. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this because this is something that's been on my mind for a little while, and that's the idea of game length, right? As someone, I used to play games all the time as a kid. A lot of my free time not spent hanging out with friends, was spent, not watching TV, was spent playing video games, right? And I think about as a kid how much more free time I have compared to now. Honestly, I think about it now as I like to think full grown. Mature, that's another story. As an adult, a 26-year-old male who has a full-time job, I honestly have more free time now than I did back in college because going to classes was almost a full-time job. And then on top of that, the homework. So I feel and I fully believe I have more free time now than I did in college, just because 8-hour work days, after work day, you eat, you cook, whatever, and then play some games. But obviously, with responsibilities comes less free time. And as an adult, I still have a lot less free time now than I did as a kid, right? And I played way more games as a kid. I look at my overflowing backlog. That might be another video idea that I do. And it's just like, oh man, this is getting nuts. There's so many games, so many great games I want to buy. They're on sale. There are new games coming out. And it's tough, especially when said games are extremely, extremely long. Case in point, Tears of the Kingdom, right? Obviously, this should only hopefully be the beginning of it. I try not to spoil too much, like I said. But with Tears of the Kingdom, right? This year's my launch live stream I did when the game first came out. I completed Tears of the Kingdom a little over a month ago. I put in 200 hours, did all the main story stuff, did a good chunk of the side stuff. Apparently not enough according to the game afterwards. But I felt like I did enough. I was like, yes, I've done enough. This is good. I'm ready to move on. 200 hours is a long time. And I know, I'm sure for gamers who play one game for hours and hours, it's one of the only games they play, right? I'm thinking games like, I don't know, Minecraft, League of Legends, Overwatch, games like those that players can invest hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours, Rocket League, Fortnite. A lot of these live service games, a lot of these games that don't have a definitive ending. I've never personally been a fan of that because personally, I find that those games, I'll play them on occasion, I'll play them for a little bit, but I always feel like I could be playing more games. I'm the kind of gamer who likes to experience individual stories, see those stories through, and then move on to something else. I like to expand. When it comes to games, I can be a quantity, not over quality, but I'd rather spend my time playing a bunch of games per year than 3 games per year. You know what I mean? That's just me though. Totally respect those who don't decide to do that. But as that kind of said gamer, what the hell am I doing on camera here? As that kind of gamer, it's tough when a lot of these games, like Tears of the Kingdom, come out that are, honestly for me, the threshold is 50 plus hours. What I've been trying to do is limit myself to no more than 1 game a year that is more than 50 hours. I've always gravitated more towards shorter games, and especially now as an adult, I have that I have less time than I did as a kid, so I'm a little more conservative of where I spend my gaming time. Not to say that these games are bad, far from it. I think Tears of the Kingdom is a phenomenal game, but does it respect your time? That can be a very personal thing, right? That could be a very subjective thing. Personally, and I'm gonna get some flack for this, I do not think Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom respect your time as a gamer. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if I play 1 hour of Tears of the Kingdom, for example, what do I get done in that hour? Okay, maybe I run around and explore a little bit of terrain, pick up some mushrooms or apples or whatever. Maybe I do a few side quests in some town, some village that I find, right? Maybe oh, this song's funny. Maybe I I don't even know. Maybe I explore, maybe I do a few shrines or something like that. for me, it's hard to feel accomplished after putting like just like 1 hour or even 2 hours sometimes into a game like Tears of the Kingdom. So when I was playing this, I flew through this. It still took me just about 2 months. I mean, the first launch live stream I did, that day I played like 12 hours Tears of the Kingdom. That was the most I ever did. And in 2 months, I played 200 hours, and that kind of scares me. It was also pretty much the only game I played. I took a break from live streaming for a while. It actually worked out well because otherwise, even with that rate, it would have taken me double the time, and I wouldn't be finished now. And especially when I'm used to playing and beating games within a certain time frame, personally, I find myself sometimes getting burnt out. So honestly, if I didn't rush to finish Tears of the Kingdom within 2 months, I feel like I would have dropped the game. Like, not because it's bad, but because I'm still in the same experience and I kind of just want to move on. I don't know if any of you have ever felt that feeling. I've done that with plenty of games before. Plenty of games longer than Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, props to Tears of the Kingdom for like keeping me that engrossed. Even the original Breath of the Wild did not do that for me, but Tears of the Kingdom really did. I more than doubled my time in Tears of the Kingdom compared to Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, I only put like 90 hours in, I think, after the DLC for that game. So like, props to Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom for that. Same thing with Breath of the Wild. It established a framework, but the thing with the framework is that I don't feel like it respects my time as a gamer. I feel like I have to put like 3 to 4 hours per day to really feel like a meaningful gameplay session. You know what I mean? And I think part of that, I think it's just the design of the game. And I know, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna get flack for this. It's just, that's why I don't love these games as much as past Zelda games, because I feel like it takes longer to get the same amount of progress done, if that makes sense. Yes, there's way more to do in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but I feel like the more condensed structure of past Zelda games appeals to me more because I feel like I get a lot more done, you know, in the same amount of time compared to this game, because there's so much to do in this game. There's so much side stuff. A lot of it is drawn out. You know what I mean? And a lot of it comes down to open world games, I found. So it's not like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are the only ones guilty of this. You know what I mean? Like, plenty of open world games would feel the same way to me. Okay, this is gonna be funny, but I will give credit to Sonic Frontiers for being an open zone game, but still being pretty short. Like, I prefer that design to this game, and I know it's gonna sound wild, but I do, because like, it still felt like I was exploring pretty open areas in Frontiers, and it's still one of the longer Sonic games out there, but I put what? I mean, I ended up putting like 50 hours into the game just because I went after all the collectibles. But the fact that you can go after all the collectibles and only put 50 hours in is kind of nuts, considering it's an open game. So I actually love that, you know, compared to a game like this, which I didn't do everything and I put 200 hours into it. Like, the game told me I could have done way more side stuff. I got like 65% of the side stuff done, apparently, and I was like, no way, I'm not going back and doing all that stuff. So I thought I did a lot, but apparently not. So that's the thing, is like, I almost feel like this game doesn't, personally, I find it doesn't respect my time, because I feel like as an adult, I have limited time. I would lose sleep playing this game every night. Personally, I found, as someone who works a full-time job, having to put like at least 3 or 4 hours per day to feel like I made meaningful progress and to stop it. I mean, there's also the problem with this game just being addicting to begin with, and that's, I mean, props to Nintendo and the Zelda team for that design of the game, because it hooked me, right? But I don't know. I feel like it doesn't fully respect my time because of just the design of this game. I love it. I'm giving it a little bit of flack for that. You know what's a game that doesn't, I personally feel, doesn't do that, and it does respect your time? You might be listening to the music right now, and I'm going to try to, hopefully this is early game stuff here, but I played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the first time last year. Actually, that was just about a year ago I started this game, and I wrapped it up at the end of last year. It did take me twice as long. It took me 4 months to beat, but that's also because I was live streaming at the time, and also because I was just not putting, there were a lot of times where I was doing 1 or 2 hour sessions, and you want to know why? Because I feel like with Xenoblade Chronicles, I felt like I was getting so much done, because not only is it's an open game for sure. I'm not saying it's not, but it is a more condensed, concise experience, I find, compared to something like, you know, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. Obviously, because this is not an open world game. it's an action RPG that has open areas. It's similar to Sonic Frontiers in that way, I feel like. It's more open than Frontiers for sure. And I'm sure, like, especially 2 and 3 are even more open. I'm sure, from what I've heard, they went even more crazier with that. So to me, that's like, I don't know. I prefer that style. I know that's just me, and that's very subjective, of course. It's been 10 minutes. What the hell? So a game like Xenoblade, I feel like, you know, I ended up putting 150 hours into this game. I did pretty much every single, if not every single side quest. I did Future Connected. I did all that. And I felt like I put, 50 less hours into this game than Tears of the Kingdom. And I still felt like this game kind of respected my time a little bit more. It just like, things were nonstop happening. The story was moving along. The side quests were, I mean, sure, a little irrelevant in some areas. The ones in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I hear they improve it, starting with 2 and especially 3. But some of those side quests felt a little superficial, but I still did them because I was enjoying it. But like, it's a completely different style of game. Totally get that. But I gravitate more towards this game. That's why with this game, I mean, sure, I put 150 hours into it, but it was over 4 months. So it didn't really hurt me as much as something like Tears of the Kingdom, which was 200 hours within 2 months. And just because of the design of this game and how more concise and linear it is, it just like, obviously it's restrictive, right? You can't do nearly as much stuff as you can in a game like Tears of the Kingdom. But personally, I'm fine with that. This is all about my video game preferences, right? I enjoyed playing through this game, even though I was like, this is gonna be a long game. I still really, really enjoyed it. Now I'm worried for the future because, no pun intended, because of Persona 5 Royal. That is a game I want to try out. It's gonna be at least as long as Tears of the Kingdom, especially because I'm the kind of player who likes to do a lot of side stuff. That kind of is my issue, and it draws out some games sometimes. You know, I like to do a lot of side stuff if I can, but if it goes on for too long, I'm like, whatever. You know, and I almost felt that with Xenoblade, but then like something just kicked in, and I just like absolutely fell in love with it and kept going through to the end. But even though I was only playing like 2 hours max a day for 4 months, I still felt like it respected my time more. I don't know. Maybe, let me know if this is a hot take. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but that's just kind of my thought process. And just quickly, because this video is already going to get too long, this video is definitely just so I could shout out Xenoblade Chronicles. I don't know what you're talking about. We got to talk about some other short games. Big one, I already mentioned Sonic a bit. Sonic, just growing up with Sonic as a kid, Sonic games are very fast. Not only because Sonic's fast, but also just because the games are pretty short. But I still enjoy those content. Very replayable too. Metroid, I want to shout out Metroid Dread because this game in particular gets brought up all the damn time for this current generation for games that people say, aren't worth the $60 because it's too short, because it's 2D. 2D is a big part of it. Another part that I've seen argued online is because it's not that long. And you know what? Who cares? Like, some gamers estimate the value of games based on like amount of hours you can put into it. If we did that, right? You know, Tears of the Kingdom, $70 for that. I mean, for sure, that's worth it. I mean, I totally think that game is worth $70, you know? But I think Metroid is worth $60. It's so subjective. Gameplay hours does not equate to value, if that makes sense in terms of monetary value, right? Like, I would gladly pay for a $60 10-hour game than I would for a $70 100-hour game. I totally would. And like, in a day and age where a lot of these games are going more open world and extending stuff with unnecessary side quests, collectibles, skill trees, you know, every major publisher is guilty of it. You know, games like Metroid, games like Sonic, games like Hi-Fi Rush, you know, games like the upcoming Prince of Persia looks like it's going to be pretty like condensed and linear, and that's great. It's very refreshing to someone like me who prefers a lot of these more concise experiences. And in particular with Metroid Dread, like, yes, it's pretty short. All 2D Metroid games are kind of short. Even Prime's not like super duper long, right? All the Metroid games are pretty short. But there's no padding, there's no fluff. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels like a quality time throughout. It's a very concise experience. And to give Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition props, like, I mean, sure, the side quests, like I said, they could be a little meaningless in that game. But like, I still felt like just putting in a little bit of time, you know, every time would just, like every session I played, I would still get a lot done within like 1 or 2 hours. I can't say I can say the same for Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom. I felt like I had to play for at least 3 to 4 hours per session to really get a meaningful experience, you know? I'm currently playing through Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. I can put in 20 minutes and I can get so much value out of that, you know what I mean? That is such a pick up and go game, and there's so much content. So it's like, I love games like that. I love games like that. Personally, to wrap this video up, because I don't want to go on too long ranting about this, I would rather have 5 20-hour games than 1 100-hour game. I personally would. And even though the 5 20-hour games would come out to more money than the 1 100-hour game, I would still choose that. I would still choose the 5 20-hour games because they're concise experiences. You get to see them through. Maybe it's my bias of watching TV and movies a lot as a kid and playing Sonic a lot as a kid, but these games were shorter. And especially now as an adult, I feel like I can put in even like 30 minutes an hour, max 2 hours per session, and I still get so much done. It feels like a lot of meaningful progress. And a game, I can't say the same about a lot of more open games, you know? Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, like I said, I'm not trying to throw those games under the bus. I'm trying to explain why, you know, they're not the only ones that do this, far from it. There are plenty of other games that probably do it worse. I'm looking at you, Persona 5 Royal, I am worried. But it's like, a lot of these games, there's so much to do. It's almost too much. It's almost overwhelming. And it just like, you know what I mean? It's like, at what point do you just kind of say, screw it and put the game down? Even if it means not beating the main story, you know? It's like, as a gamer, especially if you are like me, if you have a full-time job, you have a limited spare time, you like to spend your time doing other things as well, it's tough. I don't know what I was doing here. It's tough. It's like, you need to like prioritize your time, and it's really hard. Like, Tears of the Kingdom took over my life for 2 months. And yeah, you might argue that's not a bad thing. For me, sure, during the time it was great, I loved it. But I look back on that and I cringe. I cringe because of how much time I had to put into that game per day. And I don't know. I'm not saying the game's bad. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games of the year, obviously. But gonna give it a little bit of flack for that. Anyways, we're gonna wrap this video up here. This went on longer than I expected, as always. Let me know your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you prefer longer experiences? Are you one of those gamers that actually, you know, maybe plays like 3 to 5 games max a year? Like, even if one game, are there specific games that you like to focus on, you know, and just play endless and endless and endless? Because I totally get there are a lot of people out there. The great thing about being in the games space is there's a lot of options, right? There's options for everybody. For the most part, there's a lot of options for everybody. Personally, I prefer the shorter, concise experiences. That's what this video was about. But let me know your thoughts on just game length in general in the comments below. Otherwise, hey, I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. Until then, hey, keep those gaming hours in check. Go outside, touch grass if you need to, if it's been too long. I'm serious. Don't take that for granted, man. Grass is great. You planted grass? Goodbye.